Howdy everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to make what I'm calling Spaghetti A La Mexicana. So let's get to cooking. Alright, so I kind of got a little ahead of myself. I was already cooking when I decided, why the heck not, let's go ahead and make a video of this. I know that last week I did a spaghetti casserole dish, or maybe it was a week before. So this is just another spaghetti dish, but it's not going to be a casserole. So what I have in here is 2 chicken breasts, and I've cut them up into like really small little pieces like that. And all I've done is I put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. I had it nice and hot. Threw in my chicken bits. I seasoned with salt, pepper, powdered cumin, powdered garlic, and then I added a little sprinkle of paprika in there. And over here, I've got some chopped up or cubed tatuma squash or Mexican squash. You can use zucchini or even yellow squash. I've got half of a yellow onion chopped up, and then I've got about, I think it was about maybe 5 or 6 little mini bell pepper, or you can just use regular bell pepper chopped up or sliced. I have it sliced actually. And then I've got a 15-ounce can of mini diced tomato. You can of course dice your own or petite-sized tomato. And then I've got 7 ounces of spaghetti right here. I'm also going to use a shredded Mexican blend of cheese to add to this. But for now, this is what I'm going to add. So I'll be adding the little bits at a time. So this is a chicken. We're sauteing it for a good maybe 7 minutes. Make sure that little bits are cooked. It doesn't take very long because they're nice and cut up small. Okay, but we'll go to the next step. All right, so next I'm adding the onions in there, and I'm just going to cook that till it's translucent. All right, so next goes in the bell peppers, and I just want to get them softened a bit. Not too soft, of course, but I do want to get them a little soft, and that's going to take maybe about 4 minutes. All right, so let's throw in the diced tomatoes with the liquid and everything that's in there. This is actually a 14.5-ounce can. I said 15, but you know, you get it. All right, so now we're just mixing that in, and we're gonna let that cook for just a couple of minutes. Just let that tomato get nice and hot. All right, so that's nice and hot. We're gonna add in the squash. I'm gonna go and just kind of let this saute for about a minute or so, and then we're gonna add some liquid to this. All right, so normally I like to reserve a bit of the pasta water, but I completely drained it and I forgot to save some, but I do have some chicken broth, so I'm gonna go ahead and use that. And I'm using the one that has less sodium in there because I did add salt to the chicken to begin with, and then these flavored bouillons that I'm gonna add to the meal have some salt in there too. So I'm just gonna add about a teaspoon. This is the chicken flavored bouillon, and then here I have the tomato bouillon with chicken flavor. Now this normally adds flavor to the pasta water, and of course I'm using chicken broth, so it already has flavor in it. So I mean, you don't have to add any of this. Basically this one is really just adding some color in there. Okay, so I'm gonna add about half a cup of liquid to maybe a cup at the most, because I do want to get the squash under, whether I'm using pasta water or chicken broth, or if I'm just using water, just, you know, some nice clean water. If you didn't save the pasta water, or you don't want to use it because, you know, it's got a lot of starch in it, and you don't have any chicken broth, you could just use water, regular water. You'll flavor it with those bouillons. Okay, so I think I added, there was probably just a tad bit more than a cup left in that container. It's, as you can see, it's very liquidy. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add those seasonings. The tomato bouillon and just the plain chicken bouillon. Okay, so adding that chicken broth, which I had pulled out of the fridge and it was cold, it really cooled off this. So I'm going to go ahead and put it up like a medium to high. So if yours is not cold like mine, you don't have to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and put it up the heat up a little bit, just so that it starts heating up a little bit faster. And I'm going to let this simmer, get a little bubbly. It's going to take maybe 4 or 5 minutes because I want that squash to cook. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my spaghetti. And I didn't mention that when I made my spaghetti, it said to cook it for 8 minutes. I think I cooked it about 6 minutes or so. And you want to leave it very al dente, because when you put it in here, it's going to cook even more. So you don't want mushy spaghetti, okay? I mean, if you like mushy spaghetti, then overcook it if you want, or I won't say overcook it. Okay, we're gonna call it very well cooked. Okay, if that's the way you like it, nothing wrong with that, of course. Everybody has their own taste. I remember that's the way that I used to like it until I discovered it al dente, and I realized, hey, I like it like this. All right, everyone, so we're gonna let this bubble up a little bit, and then we're gonna go ahead and add the spaghetti. We'll cover it up. I am gonna cover it up right now. There we go. And I did turn up the heat. So I'm gonna come back in about 4 or 5 minutes, check on it, throw my spaghetti in, and we'll go from there. All right, everyone, so I've taken off the lid. 5 minutes went by. Lots of steam coming up on here, but I want you to see this. The squash here is almost completely cooked. You can see that. It's like translucent part of it, and there's still a little bit of a white part. So we know it needs a little bit more cooking. And like I said, my spaghetti was gonna need a little bit more cooking. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss that in now. There we go. Now, the time that it took me was about 5 minutes for this calabacita, this squash, because this squash does cook a little bit faster than a zucchini squash. So it just depends on what type of squash you're using. Now, if you don't want to use spaghetti like this, you know, the pasta, because of the carbs, you know, you're watching on the carbs, you can use spaghetti squash. Of course, you'll want to add that at the very end when it's already all cooked, because normally when you make spaghetti squash, it is already cooked to the point that you like it, so just add it in the end. Okay, so now my spaghetti is just going to take a little more cooking, and that's why I said I wanted it to be very al dente, not you know, hard, but I wanted it to be nice and chewy. So now I'm going to go ahead and cover it, and it's going to be in there for about another 2 minutes or so. We just want to make that calabacita, you know, the squash, to get cooked and the spaghetti to continue cooking. I'm going to move it a little bit better than what you see in there, but that's basically the idea. So we'll be back. And there we go. This is already fully cooked, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat. And what I have here on the side are some sliced jalapenos. These are vinegared jalapenos or pickled jalapenos. And then I've got about 4 ounces of shredded cheese, so I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that on top. All right, and now some jalapenos. All right, so we're now just going to let that cheese melt on top, and this is going to be ready to serve. And I decided to call it Spaghetti A La Mexicana because it has tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos. It could be serrano peppers instead of jalapenos, but that's typically what you put like in huevos a la mexicana, which is eggs Mexican style. All right, so that's what I'm going to call it. And we're going to give it a little taste now. All right, everyone, I'm just going to take a little taste here from the corner. Get some of that yummy spaghetti and a bit of that chicken. Let's see if I can grab a jalapeno on there too. There we go. Let's give that a taste. All right, everyone, what can I say? That was absolutely delicious. Of course, I made it myself, so I made it to my taste. So you can just switch around any little seasonings that you want, and you don't have to put in the jalapenos if you don't care to use that. And like I said, you don't have to use the spaghetti at all, or use some spaghetti squash instead. You know, just keep it on the side and serve it on the plate, and then put the chicken and everything else on top of that. All right, everyone, so I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a kind comment down below and let me know what you think of my recipe. If you haven't already subscribed and you like my content, please subscribe on the red button below and then hit the little notification bell so that you get notified as soon as I upload my videos. I hope you have a super evening, and as always, enjoy.